All right, so we've gone to the final stage of building our solution, which is defining the Streamlit UI. Now in this, we will need to import Streamlit. So first to say import Streamlit as st. Then we'll need to import our process file, process URL, and our langchain agent. Also, let me just comment this out. And our langchain agent. So we say from utils import process file, process URL, from agent import create agent get mini course. Okay, no, just only get mini course. Okay, so now let's all start creating our Streamlit UI. So we see we would define a title, which would be mini course generator agent. And then we want to have an input option. Now in this input option, it will be a sidebar radio, and we choose input type because we want to we want to take both sorry, we want the user to choose between sending us a URL or sending us a PDF or a TXT. And then we have the input option. So we'll say if the input option is same as upload file, that's if the user clicks on upload file, we want to add the upload file to an uploaded file variable. And then like we want to display file uploader. So Streamlit has this file uploader component that lets us upload a file in the UI. One beautiful thing about Streamlit that I really like is that the components are created using Python. So if you already know Python, understanding Streamlit will not be that difficult compared to having to create UI using like HTML or CSS and JavaScript when you don't know that very well. So we want to like add an instruction, upload PDF or TXT file. And then want to set a bunch of file types. So this PDF and this TXT, these are the only document file type that we want to collect. When we are building yours, you can decide to extend it to even take CSV or take .docs or any other type of document file type. I want to say if uploaded document, if uploaded file, does if there is an uploaded file, you want to create a session. Now this session is created because one thing I noticed when building Streamlit is that if you don't create a session that's used to store your document or your file or to store whatever you are currently doing on that Streamlit UI, when you hit a button, your Streamlit app tends to refresh, hence the session solution. So we want to say if there is an uploaded file, create a session. So the session will be file key mini course and uploaded file. The file, that's name. So this would be the file key. Now when creating a session, in Streamlit, you will definitely need a file key. I will now see if file key not in the session state. So if file key not in st, that's the Streamlit dot session state. Now, as it's processing the file, we want to do something. Now we want to extract the content. So we are going to use like a try except to handle that. As we want to extract it after the user has added a file or a document. So we say try want to add an info. So this st.info is like alerts on your React, like React or JavaScript alert, and it's like it's blue, and it's like it's displays a message for the user. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to say extracting content from the uploaded file from the uploaded file. So this is the alert that we want to tell the user, so that the user knows, hey, as this is processing, this is what is happening behind the scene. And then we would use the process file function that we defined earlier, and we would pass the uploaded file to it, and we'll pass the uploaded file to the function. And then we want to display another alert after we have finished extracting the content from the file. We now want to now tell the user we are done extracting the content. Right now we are generating the course. So we can see generating the mini course. And then we would use this get mini course function that helped us get the mini course when we tested our agents, and we would pass the contents of the document to that function or to that method. Now, while we are generating the mini course, since we are using session states to ensure that our interactions in that our interaction is saved in a session, we need to do st need to call the session states, passing the file key, and we would add this mini course here. So right now we have added our generated mini course to a particular session in our Streamlit UI. And let me just add the except block. And the except block would first of all show an error, or should throw an error if there's ever an error, and the error would be error processing file. And then when there's an error, we want to update the session states to be empty. So we say st.session states file key empty string. So that way the user can That way the user can upload the file or the document again. Please, in case if you don't know anything about session, I would be adding that to the lesson notes so that you can learn more about what session is and how session in Streamlit, or how the session state in Streamlit works. So we say mini course, let's see session states and file key. So we now say if mini course, that's if the mini course was generated, would first of all show like a success alert. Okay, so we'll say mini course generated. Now after we show that, we want to display the mini course for the user to see. So we can say sc text area. Now this text area is a component in Streamlit that lets you display something as a text, and also lets you know, it lets you preview a text, and I think you can also edit that in the text area. So we say text area, and in text area we want to pass a message. So we say generated mini course, and then we want to pass the mini course that we generated, and we also want to set the height, and the height will be set to 3, let's use 400, the height to be set to 400. Now after we show the generated mini course, we also want to add a download button for the user to download it. Of course, we are not just doing this for the user to just see the course, we also want them to download it. So we do st.download button, and inside the download button we will pass a label. So the label in this case is like what will be on the download button. So the label here would be download mini course, and the data that we want to pass is the mini course, then the file name. So the file name of the downloaded file. Now the mini course is, if we check out, if we remember from our terminal, the mini course is in markdown. So we want the user to download it as a markdown. You can try letting your user download it as a PDF or a TXT, but personally I want my user to download this as a markdown. So in the file name we would say minicourse.md. If you want to download this as a TXT, you can just change this md to txt, and likewise for PDF you just change the md to to PDF. Now after this we want to define a file type. So so we want to define an MIME file type, and it's going to be a markdown file type, which is text/markdown. For PDF it will be application/PDF. For TXT it will be TXT/plain. And that is the logic for when the user chooses to upload a document. Now let us write the logic for processing URLs. So we'll say elif if the input option, same as enter a document URL. First of all, I want to tell the users, hey, enter the URL of your blog post, but note that Google Docs and Notion links are not supported. And you know, if you want to generate a mini course from content from those platforms, you will need to download it and upload it on the platform. This is just something to improve user experience. So after we tell the users that, the next thing that we need to do is we need to use the text inputs. Now, this text input is a Streamlit component that lets you or lets the user input a text. So in the text inputs, we are going to add the message, enter the URL of your blog posts. Then we would handle the URL. So we say if the URL exists, so if the user gives us a URL, we want to add that URL key to our session state. So we'll say URL key. So we added the URL, we use the URL key as a file key that we would use to add to the session state. So after this, the next thing that we want to do is to validate if it's Google Docs or if it's a Notion link, and then we like throw an error. We want to check if the user, that's if the URL the user gives us, if it's Google Docs or Notion. If it is, we tell the user, hey, we cannot process this because it's not supported. And then if it is not Google Docs or Notion link, what we do is we now check is if the URL key is not in the session state, then we can now fetch and process the contents. Then as we fetch and process the content, we now tell the user, hey, we're fetching and processing the content, and then we now throw an alert that says we are extracting the content from the URL, and we would use the process URL function that we had defined earlier. So after that, the next thing that we want to do is to generate the mini course based on the contents that was extracted from the URL. So now we tell the user, hey, after we have finished processing, or sorry, after we have finished extracting the content from the URL, we'll let the user know, hey, we are generating the final mini course from the URL, and we use the get mini course function that has been defined in our agent.py, and then we add that mini course to the session states using the URL key. And then we now add some exceptions to catch any error, like if there was an error processing the URL, we tell the user there was an error processing the URL, and then we ensure that the URL key found in the session state is empty, so that the user can add the URL again and process the URL again. So after that's done, the next thing that we want to do is to get the mini course from the session state. And if we see that, oh, that exists, what we need to do is, if the mini course is in the session state, we will tell the user, hey, mini course has been created, and then we would display the mini course. This is very similar to what we did in the uploaded file logic. And then we now have a download button for the users to download the mini course as a markdown file type. So this is our Streamlit logic, and we can test this in the next video.